Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
And I'm Sherry, 8212.
That's what I heard. That made news. I will tell you guys. Chemda got into some controversy. And this news article went, did you see there's the Mirror in England, the Sun in England, Daily Mail, Men's Health, Elite Daily,
Really?
News.com.Australia. Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Well, right.
It's a story about cheating, and it's just like, and this girl isn't what she said, and I was like, oh, good. I'm glad everyone just reads headlines.
Right.
You know?
So we'll fill you in. Let me mention this, keithandthegirl.com/marathon. Take a look right now with me. I want you guys to be part of this. Every year we have a Keith and the Girl Marathon, and this is the information. It also ties in to my annual stand-up show.
We're doing it back to back. Keith is doing his annual hour, and then the next day we're doing 24 hours straight of comedy.
Look at the site. It says every year we raise money via Kickstarter for a Keith and the Girl Marathon to make improvements to the studio and to help keep the show running throughout the year. Unfortunately, this year we were focused on Chemda's health.
Womp womp, fuck tumors.
And making sure that she has what she needs to come back safe and hilarious as ever. And she did. Big thanks to you. You did.
Thank you.
Though we're not running a Kickstarter this year, we'd like to offer a few of our favorite rewards that we would normally offer exclusively in our fundraiser. These items have been marked down for a limited time, so get your Keith and the Girl once-a-year marathon goodies now.
By the way, this is because Chemda feels so guilty about having a tumor and leaving you for 2 months that I'm like, we'll just have a scaled-down version, but we could use it, so support us.
The marathon starts 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, April 16th. Doesn't stop until Monday, April 17th. And the day before that, April 15th, is my stand-up show, and through/marathon is the only way right now that you can get tickets. Okay.
And these are all at early bird prices. That's across the board. The marathon, Keith's show, you can get VIP seating. There's very limited amount. So keithandthegirl.com/marathon.
For example, we'll be doing a bonus hour. So 25 hours, absolutely. But the last hour, the 25th hour, will not be live. And you can only get it through here, that kind of thing. So take a look, see the rewards. And like always, thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, and if you're thinking of supporting but are like, well, I can't support on a big level, it doesn't matter. We're not looking for a certain amount. We're looking for a certain number of people. We're looking for 300 people to support us, and you could support on like $1 level, and you count.
Right. Today's guest, well, you love her. I know that because she won a CATCO award, right? Her work has been featured on Funny or Die, USA Today, BuzzFeed, Guys We Fucked, AV Club, E! News. I mean, the list goes on, but I got to move on. Marcia Belsky.
Yay! Hi, everyone.
Good to see you.
Chemda, I'm so happy that your health is recovered. I wish that everyone could see you. You look your face is a lot more full of color and everything the last time I saw you.
I guess the tumor was black and whiting me, right?
It was making you, yes, like, what's that thing when you're like in theater and they make you do stage makeup to look like you're in black and white? Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, it's like they
gray
did it
face?
for that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grayscale.
Oh, there's a couple movies then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's how you were.
My tumor was bleeding me of color.
Yeah.
That makes sense because it was like bright ass red.
Yeah. It was all your pigmentation. Like
That picture.
Of the tumor.
It looks evil.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not gonna lie, it gave me like a full scale panic attack. But, like, that's not your fault. Like, that's not your fault.
If anything, you were trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what's funny though? Is because like Marcia, I don't think I've seen her since before my tumor. So last time I saw her, I had a tumor.
Well, I saw you at your house for the surprise party thing, which was really cute. Where who put it together?
Andrea
was it your husband?
Allen.
Oh, it was Andrea. That's right.
Our new ass prod and Emily Lubin of the Hot Mess Comedy Hour.
Yes.
They surprised me, a bunch of my favorite comics, because I couldn't go out. I couldn't, because I was recovering from stupid surgery.
Boo.
And I was like, but all these comedy shows are happening and all my friends are hanging out. And so they put together this, because they probably have a key to my house because everybody does. So I walk in and all of like...
You shouldn't say that on air.
Right.
Well, those of you who don't know that you don't.
What if I do? Like, people are checking their key rings.
You're like, do I have a key to Henda's house?
Andrea's telling me it was Hennessy's idea, but I know you guys put a lot of work to it, so I'm going to say it again. Andrea Allen and Emily Lubin, thank you
applause.
so much. Yeah.
It was so fun.
But Chemda walked into her house, and there's all these chairs set up, and they're like, my hippie weirdo friend.
I
Who
know.
knows? And then she goes to bed.
It took me a second. I'm like, why are Andrea and Emily just putting chairs in my house? Like, I thought maybe for a second, like, I'm about to see like a "This Is Your Life" really weird, like we thought you were gonna die memorial or something. But you know, then I
walk in, it's like, as we go on.
And then everyone was there to do a private comedy show for me, and it turns out it was right after we found out that Trump got elected.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
So for a lot of people, it was kind of the first time they really comedy spoke about it.
Yeah, we were
know?
like talking a lot of
Yeah.
things out because it was so brutal right after the election because it felt totally insane not to acknowledge it on stage, but it also wasn't funny for anybody yet.
Yeah.
And like the people who it was funny for were mostly these like kind of jockey white guys, and everyone's like, well, we understand why you're not scared. Like,
Right.
yeah,
like,
so there was fear, and I'm like, thanks for coming, make me laugh. I just had a
Yeah.
tumor removed, and this is our president.
seriously, oh my God, what a terrible recovery gift. It's like, oh my God, thank God you're alive. Fascism.
It's a good time to be alive.
Welcome. Yeah.
Hemda's great again.
But yeah, I was so honored to win. What did you call it? The CADCA? Oh, Keith and the Girl Award, right? That was so cool. And yeah, I said when you guys called me, but so me and Ray Sawney are going to be taking that now to do our own podcast called Misandry with Marsha and Ray.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which will be really cool because Ray Sawney's like the smartest, like
Right.
funniest, like, and Ray's great because like she's super great to argue with, and I don't like arguing with a lot of people, but like Ray and I are friends, so like I'll say something, and we all have kind of gotten used to people more or less agreeing with us, or like it's too hard to fight. It's like you want to talk things out with your friends, but like I'll say something, and if Ray disagrees, she's just like, no.
Yeah.
And then she'll just say exactly why. So I think it'll be a really good show.
And what I think is very exciting is show to show, you don't know if she'll show up. Isn't that fun? Who knows? She's a
Well,
free
fine.
spirit. Yeah.
No, we're gonna do it together. She's doing a lot of the work. And yeah, we're gonna do like reverse racism with Ray segments, and then we're gonna do Fuckboy Friday is gonna be a good
Okay.
Nice.
segment, which will play off of Crush Men Monday.
And this
Synergy.
This
Yes.
is, of course, the podcast Misandry with Marsha.
Yes.
Now Misandry with Marsha and Ray, which you first recorded in our studio, which, you guys, this flavor of the month thing,
Was so awesome.
this is kicking off people's podcasting careers. And I feel super honored that, like, the first time you hosted was here. Do you know what I mean?
I feel honored. I feel like because it was something I've been wanting to, like, I had the title in my mind for a long time, but I just like I was like, and then you guys were like, do you want to do a flavor of the month? I was like, oh my God, now I can finally do this.
Yeah, it's that low risk for the
Yeah.
comedian, and we all get to work it out here.
And you
get
have
your
a whole studio ready,
Yeah.
built-in audience. I mean, it's like perfect. And your audience is so great. I have to give props to them because they listen. Like a lot of the men who I'm sure this stuff is not easy to hear, but like that's the whole problem. It's like I feel like women are audience to male conversations a lot, whether it's in pop culture or just men tend to not hold back a lot in front of us. That's not really necessarily true all the time, but we know what men talk about when they're alone, or we can kind of guess, I think. But men don't
president
really.
told us.
Exactly. Like locker room talk. We've all known that. But men don't really have that the other way. Like they don't really see how women really are when it's just us, So that's what like we want our podcast to do is.
Yeah, that's why when they do impersonations of us, they raise an octave and throw pillows around for some reason. Like my father-in-law does that, and he knows better. Like we've had deep emotional conversations where we disagree, and like I argue with him, and he considers me a very, a strong woman, but then he'll say stuff like, how you guys do, you giggle and like wear your cute little, and I'm like, did I wear any cute little giggly, what the fuck, who, and I'm like, who are
It
you
doesn't
talking
map
to?
out for them. Like it doesn't like there's some sort of like thing where they're stuck in their brain. Like my dad's like a very good man, but even he will say these things that are just like regurgitated 1950s man of the house bullshit,
That I didn't even realize I was kind of falling for.
Yeah.
I thought because my mom was so old school that I'm this radical, wonderful, no anti-feminist bone in my brain. Turns out I was feeding right into it.
Well, it's hard too because it's like a lot of women. I think
Keith,
there's-
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Keith, don't talk.
Enough.
I would like to be clear that I try to show Hemda and women respect in the way that when I'll tell the story about Hemda, I'll say, and then Hemda said to me, "What are you doing tonight?"
That's more accurate.
I do a really sexist impression of dudes that I really like, which is like, what? I'm like a man.
But I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to be like, and then he said, oh my God, I can't even deal.
And then he was like,
Oh my God.
yeah, but so yeah, I mean, it's hard because like people, I think. Like, 55% of white women voted for Trump is like this number everyone keeps going back to. But
well, do you
people
remember the
underest-
rally? There's a rally that he had where he's like, do you really think that women should be president? And they were like, no.
yeah, but I've heard women say things like that. And it's like people underestimate. internalized misogyny, because obviously I'm this outspoken feminist and stuff, but it's a daily
But
thing
you have a
for
boyfriend,
me.
I heard. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I'm a sellout. But it's a daily
Dick
thing.
stick. I don't know what to say.
Sorry.
Sometimes it's attached to one of those people.
But like, it's a daily thing even for me to catch myself in moments of severe internalized misogyny or judging other women in ways that you wouldn't judge men, judging their tone. So it's like, it's a struggle, and most people don't want to deal with that struggle. Like, that's what's interesting with everyone becoming political now. Like,
Oh, I have to say new words.
yeah, it's
That's
like,
the
I
word
understand
for
why
it.
it's stressful, but it's like there are people whose lives have already been succumbed to fascism. I mean, that's the whole Black Lives Matter movement. It's like, we've already been under a fascist regime. Like, wake up. Like, this is your first time you felt it, you know?
Yeah,
So
and
it's
then
like,
I start feeling guilty, like, oh, I just realized now
I
when
know.
it's like thoroughly affecting me. Like it needs to happen to me directly. Yeah.
that's just like, I mean,
Well, I've been shedding it, so that's what I feel better about. Like I've been shedding it. When it comes to light, I don't put it back in the dark.
you were
Like,
sick. No one expects you to fight. You just, you
rest.
you rest. You get better.
I fought. I peed in marches.
Yeah.
I peed myself in protest.
We should wheel you around in a wheelchair at protest and just like really make it a thing. Like, she is out here
Right.
fighting for you.
Her sign is her tumor.
Our
Just
new
a
president.
picture of her. Oh my god, your tumor seriously does look like Donald Trump. That is so funny. He looks
Let's do
like.
a side by side on the website.
We have got to. You have got to do like a totally looks like, or a Steve Bannon.
with the tumor with his wig on.
Oh my god,
Oh my God, Andrea.
that's so funny.
Andrea, I want you to put a picture of Trump, then next to it a picture of Candace tumor, but do
With the
not
wig on.
label them.
And see if people can tell which one is which. It's
you
going to
s-
be really hard.
Have you seen the Donald Trump handshakes that are going around?
Oh my god, it's so scary. He is like a cartoonish 1980s movie bully. Like, he is. That's what's scary, is I think that our, like, I mean, it's also nuanced what led us here. It's so many different things. But a part of it for me has to be this, like, reality has been stacking on top of itself very quickly for the last 20 years. And now it just feels like nobody even cares what reality anymore. It's like an identity crisis, you know? We're like, who cares if a reality Twitter star is our president? Reality is nothing anymore. Like, you know?
Yeah, I'd see this, and I was raised to give a firm handshake, and I understand the power play behind it, but I've never seen anything so spastic and odd when he
I know.
shakes your hand and jerks it
Twice he did it.
as if I would, right, and then you can see a lot. Whether
But he
he's
thinks
shaking
he's
hands.
sly. That's his whole thing. He's trying to be a machismo, but most people are cool about it. Like, he's
Right.
not cool. Like,
Well,
he's truly stupid.
He's just flopping. He's flopping that person's arm around to literally the president of Japan or emperor is rolling his eyes like, what the
I
fuck is
know.
happening? And you know what? If it's not going to be, man, you know what? His name on 17 buildings doesn't respect me. But that fucking handshake.
I know.
Oh,
Well-
I'm in awe.
It really reminds me of the peacocking guys, where it's like, just be ridiculous. It's exactly what they want. Show your dominance. Like, it so seemed like if I Googled it, and I did.
Yeah.
If I Googled it, it would be written somewhere. This is how you shake hands when
Yes.
you're trying to manipulate someone. And I Googled it, and that's exactly what it said. Because
Oh my god! He
Yes.
like reads like self-help books on how to be a monster.
Exactly. And I think some self-help on how to be a monster. I think some self-help books work in raising your confidence in putting on an air until you get used to it. But if you keep putting on the air instead of like making it yours, then you look like that manipulative fuck.
Yeah, the like how to trick a woman into bed
Exactly.
type of books, like negging and things like that.
Yeah, instead of saying how to talk to a woman, and
Yeah.
and the book would be short, it'd be like pretend she's a dude,
Yeah.
scale back a
People
second.
like Trump, though, they're in a completely different world. Like, that's why it's insane. It's like none of his advisors are smart. Now, Jeff Sessions was recently appointed, but before that, his key legal advisor was Rudy Giuliani. Like, the Muslim ban, the executive order, people were like, what was incredible about this order was that there were literally middle school grammar, like, mistakes in it. Like, there's, like, they didn't even spell check it.
Yeah, but I think that's why he does so well. And I know that he's going down
'Cause
in
he's
polls, blah, blah, blah.
basic.
Because everybody can I don't know how to text.
I hate that.
I don't know how to do that either. And it's like, are you applying for presidency?
Right.
Is that what, like, where are you applying?
He's empowered like all the worst people. And what's scary is that the rhetoric cycle where it's like now they've decided that their best bet is anything that the quote unquote tolerant left, like that's what they keep saying over and over again. Anything they say, you use their own words against them. So you say, oh, the left is seen as the compassion party. Let's say that they're the KKK. They literally said that. The Democrats are the KKK. And it's like, okay. And then it's like anything if you say, hey, we're experiencing racism. I'm experiencing sexism. You're being homophobic. They say to call someone racist is racist. To call someone sexist is sexist. Like, so you can't even argue because there's no basis of truth or logic there, you know?
Do you like it though? Do you like the discussions or the arguments? Because
No.
somebody says to me, let's say for the sake of conversation, the Democrats are the KKK. I'm out the door. Like, let's not buy.
That's the thing. It depends. It's frustrating because I am willing to have arguments and I am willing to have discussions, and especially like with men, you know, like there are some guys I think that this has really opened their eyes, you know, and it's amazing how, like you said, even those of us who consider ourselves liberal, it is amazing how much we will deny to ourselves on a daily basis just to be able to like continue with life. Like, you know, our position in the privilege, you know, pyramid and just all these things that we don't want to acknowledge on a daily basis.
By the way, I'm
it's
sorry.
too exhausting.
The privilege pyramid is a circle now.
No, it's a privilege. It's a pyramid, okay? And Keith, you're on the top.
Oh, shucks.
No, he misinterprets that as a good thing every time. I guess it
Keith
is, right?
is the white man. But it's hard because, you know, I get that it's exhausting, but what is nice is that I think they truly didn't like, I think in some ways they keep saying this paid protester thing, not just because they're desperate, but because some of them can't fathom that this many people truly loathe them and aren't as racist as they are, don't want these things. You know, Trump's just going to say everyone wants this until it's going to like, he thinks that people are just going to forget that they don't.
But they do forget that they
Exactly.
don't.
That's why it's really scary, the propaganda.
Yeah, it's very easy to see Trump as a leader if you're in that mindset already. Now you see him as a leader. Now his words can seem very true if you never, ever check some other side. And if you're completely ignorant of all the systems in place.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he says becomes just regular shit because that's what you would tweet about.
Totally. That's why it's really scary because it's like the people that you need to convince the most are the biggest epitome of white fragility. So it's like you can't even start the conversation about like, you know, these are the things that like are wrong. Don't deport refugee children. Don't separate mothers from their families. Like, and you can't even start that conversation because unless the conversation is revolving around their white fragility, which inherently you can't make any progress if that's where the starting point always is.
The starting point is way before that. The starting point is the fear of even getting to it. The association with Muslims being terrorists, you can't fight that. You can't fight. If I convinced you that Muslims equals terrorists because ISIS, and that's all the words I need to use, then it is very hard to reason further with you.
Yeah, and then
that's where we're at.
The first attack that happens, he's just going to use it as an excuse for an absolute coup. He's going to say this was the problem of both political parties because John McCain and Lindsey Graham stood against him. He's going to say, so this is all of Congress. He's going to say this is the whole judiciary system. So
the
who does
same
that
thing
leave?
is if he gets assassinated, everyone's going to say,
God.
well, yeah, because he was the change that we needed.
Yeah,
it's
he'll
all
go
very,
down a hero.
very catch-22 because he created a system like that.
Anyone thinking the protesters are paid when it's in every continent and it seems like every civilized country. Did anybody ever try to put a show together
I know.
before?
Well, and they project, like, that's what's interesting is that these GOP people, the GOP did pay for their protesters. They hired the Tea Party, the Koch brothers, however you say their name. That's what I call them.
But yeah,
Koch
you're
brothers,
right, you're
whatever.
right.
The fucking dickhead brothers. They hired the Tea Party protesters, and there were a lot of people who I'm sure just went along with it once it was formed. So they go, well, that's what we did, so that must be what they're doing because they can't imagine people would actually be driven by compassion.
That's like when people are dating you and they're convinced that you're cheating. It's like a
Yeah, you're like, well, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, you're like, well, you're probably cheating. Exactly. Everything Trump says about other people, he's saying about himself. That was true with Hillary. Like, he claims voting fraud, I'm sure because he was behind the hacking. Like, you know, or he at least knew about it. Like, he claimed all this stuff. Like when he started saying the election was rigged, I was like, holy shit, Trump's gonna rig the election. Like that's what my biggest fear was. I'm still not convinced he didn't, but I know it makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist or whatever.
Well, I don't even, I mean, he's out there. Whenever Trump won the election, says, "Oh, I just had a phone call with Hillary Clinton," and I'm like, "Did you even?"
Right.
No.
I don't even know if you did.
But they're not smart. The only thing that gives me comfort is that most dictators are objectively intelligent. Like Hitler took 10 years between Mein Kampf and actually doing any moves to take over Germany. Trump literally thought that he would be able to do it in 2 weeks via executive orders.
It doesn't matter because he's smart enough and because people believe that he's smart because of two things. One, he wouldn't have been voted in. That period, end of story, authority is authority. And two, he wouldn't be allowed on TV if he wasn't. I mean, people actually say that, like, well, I'm on TV, so
I'm smart. It's such a, but it's such a dark spiral and it's so overwhelming. So like what I'm trying to do, like the self-care is really important. And
I noticed your hair is wonderful.
Thank you. Yes, I did. Bought a lot of products. But it's hard, like, because you want to try and focus on things, but also it's like you can't tell people enough it's okay and it's important to laugh. Like you really have to. Every day when I just get so bogged down with how depressing it all is, I'll try and make myself laugh at like something so dark about Trump's cabinet or what he does or who he is, because that's just like the only way we're gonna get through this is like, Melissa McCarthy, Sean Spicer, like that brought me joy for the first time in so long. And it's like you just have to have faith that with perseverance, I will say I think lawyers are going to save us all. I've never I feel bad for underestimating lawyers my entire life.
Well, I saw that the ACLU recently posted, okay, we have officially...
we're going to intervene.
We are officially suing. Like
right.
they
they have a few lawsuits.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the only people... That's what it feels like. It's the only
Southern
people who
Law Center helps a lot with stuff like that. I think the SLC, I think, is what they're called. Maybe they're called the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC. But they do a lot of that stuff too. But it's going to be, I think his biggest mistake is that historically, the people stayed at the center of power by purposefully making marginalized groups fight amongst themselves. And Trump really is uniting a sort of revolution in a way we've never seen because people are understanding that the fight is going to be everybody he's trying to take rights of against them, and I think that will bring the sort of like final fall, so to speak, but it's a very long process.
I think you're right about that, but also it's divided 50-50, it feels like. So 50 are this like marginalized groups or people who understand now that like they're going to come for you. You will become marginalized. You will be that group or however it is you're being affected or people are being affected. And then there's the other side where it's like, no, Mexicans are rapists.
They're so isolated. Yeah, the polarization is really extreme.
Muslims bomb things.
Yeah.
Like that period end of story. Black people are criminals.
Yeah.
Like it is just the storyline. That's it.
It's true. And you'll read article after article of people trying to explain it where they're like, oh, it's globalization is leading to national identity crisis because there's a rise of white nationalism and fascism in the world. Like people are really paying a lot of attention to these elections going on in Europe right now because there's a lot of nationalist parties that are rising. And it's scary because it's like, it seems like it's happening quickly, but if you notice, it's like Chris Rock has that bit where he's like, nothing's changed with people of color or with anybody. It's just that white people are less crazy, slightly.
You know what? Oh my God, this is horrible. If you watch Chris Rock from 10, probably 20 years ago, he is already saying all this shit. And I get it. We were all laughing like, sure, cops are like that.
Right.
And now we're like, oh my God, you were telling us that cops are like that. Like, that's not just a story you were saying.
Yeah, Richard Pryor used to do. Yeah. That's what made Richard Pryor so controversial, among other things, was he would openly talk about cops harassing black people. And that was like a thing that they're like just saying that. And that's what's scary with Trump, too, is when he was saying that we have an anti-police attitude and this and that and blah, 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 it's scary that their top, the president is now very much in the camp of no checks and balances for police, no monitoring. But a lot of police is up to the states. And so, that's why it's hard. Like in New York, NYPD is going to be everyone is going to be wearing body cams now within 2 years. They just passed a law. But so it's going to be really hard. It's going to come down to a lot of cities versus states versus federal power.
Which is what happened with a lot of
Yeah.
different movements.
These people are crazy too. I don't understand. What's always been the thing is like,
Keith, this is what you wanted to talk about for an hour, right?
I'll stop after that. It's just like the Republicans, they're all about anti-federal power. That's their whole platform, but they're okay with these sweeping executive orders all of a sudden that tell the states they can't decide who can and can't come into their state. And it's like, but your whole thing was states' rights. I thought that was your whole thing.
Right.
You know, anyways.
What do you find? Do you find it overwhelming when a article comes out saying 1/3 of Americans do not know that Obamacare is literally the Affordable Care Act? Like you first of all, why would you think that something went on the books called Obamacare? Do you know what I
Because
mean?
everyone used it, even on the official forms and stuff. Like there was like Republicans made a very concerted effort to hide that. That's why I like to think that some of these people will be punished by their constituency once they actually lose their health care. And they are behind closed doors panicking about that because they know it makes them look bad. These town halls don't make them look good. When some of the people say, hey, I voted for Reagan, but Obamacare saved my life, you know,
Right.
They know it doesn't make them look good.
I don't think a lot of people know that Obamacare saves their life. Like, it's very
Yeah.
obvious in a case like mine where I legitimately just got insurance right before I happened to find out that I had a
Oh
tumor.
my God.
And they, my insurance, what people don't understand is that, yeah, I'm paying more for insurance because before I didn't have insurance and now I have to pay for insurance. I don't know, I was thinking like, well, where am I going to get that? But it turns out, let's say I was paying for it. This is before Obamacare. If I was paying for it, yes, I'm paying more than I was. But if I wasn't, then as soon as I found out I got my tumor, my health care was able to drop me. Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, says you can't do that. And I was able to go, to a lot more tests than I would have gotten. Like, I was able to get covered a lot more.
Yeah.
You still go thousands of dollars in, but this would have been tens of thousands.
It just doesn't make any sense to me how they're like, how they spin it where it's like they don't answer any questions directly. I don't see how anybody's buying this shit. Like, I've called all my representatives. They all have this spiel ready where I say, just don't repeal before you can replace. That's what everybody wants. That's what your party wants. That's what our party wants. Don't repeal. If you need to fix it, fix it. Talk about it, whatever. Fix your qualms.
Yeah, there's stuff that
We
needs to
can
be
negotiate
fixed.
it.
Yeah.
But they will accept nothing less than stripping the entire thing and then eventually replacing it. So they say, but they probably will not because they never wanted it in the first place. They fought so hard for any healthcare system to be put in place because they knew
Wasn't
they made
it their
money.
idea from the beginning?
In the States, like that's the thing. Like they were just so mad that Obama implemented it that all of a sudden they're completely against it. Just like 10 years ago, Republicans would have said that the Democrats were the ones that were going to be more likely to lean into Russia and be weak on Russia and all this stuff. And now all the Republicans are like, it's fine.
That's like when you go, get out. I was on my way out anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
that's what you're fighting
sure.
about. Like, okay, I get it.
They're all
Like, just
such-
get out. The point is get out. You want to go because you said you go. Fine, you said it. You're the one who made up this idea. It's all you. You had the great idea. I wanted you to stay. Just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be Claire, when I had that liver abscess, it was Obamacare that saved me.
That's right. You didn't have insurance,
Right.
and you were able to retroactively pay for that. I mean,
There are
that's
so many
crazy.
people scared. And I mean, you call and you say, my friends are scared, they've survived this. And people think they're safe because they get their insurance through their job. Your job's insurance can also drop you if they don't take care of people with pre-existing conditions and have all those clauses. And their points that they keep coming back to have been proven false. Anyways, this is supposed to be a comedy podcast. It's just all so dark, and I think this is how everybody's feeling, that it's like we could keep talking about this for hours, all the bad stuff. Just keep going and going. So it's like now it feels like a sort of desperate wartime situation of trying to find joy. But what's interesting is that a lot of people my age have never been through a national,
What is your
upheaval
age?
like this.
102? How old are you now?
I'm 27. But it's, we've never had to go to war. We lived through 9/11. That was the biggest thing to happen in our lifetimes, I think, until this. This is another huge pivotal change in terms of where we're going to see America going.
Lived through 9/11, but you were 10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't even understand it.
Yeah.
I remember, I think
That
I was
wasn't in-
11 or 12 or something. I was in 7th grade. And my mom, came home and hugged me, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, that happened sort of in your periphery at that time.
My friend had a brother who was in the Pentagon who survived, but it was I remember her getting pulled out of class. But I was in Oklahoma, And it's so funny now talking to people who grew up on the East Coast, like my friends who grew up in Long Island, and hearing where it's like, you know, my friends who grew up in Connecticut, they're like, I knew hundreds of people whose dads died, you know, like it was like they had people who their whole grade, their parents worked in Wall Street, you know, so it's like it affected them a lot differently, you know. And so it's crazy because I just remember being 12 and careless and like, oh, like, I guess we're going to war, you know.
Right.
So now to be an adult as this stuff is happening and to really see it. And, you know, people even younger than me, the only president they've ever known is Obama. Imagine going from that. Like, I lived through Bush, at least. Like, I know that idiots can run the country. I didn't know it would get worse,
Right.
you know. But
well, I'm into this Sanders show. I'll tell you that.
yeah, and that's the thing. We think it's a good time to really get out that anger, you know, because we think it's important to push those point of views, especially as people work really actively to try and take us back.
And people get
silence us.
angry right back at you.
They really do. Well, it's so exhausting, the whole reverse sexism, blah, 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 especially when I'm clearly joking because it's like I have to explain it on both sides. Like I have people coming up to me.
You don't say LOL at the end of your jokes. You
LOL.
go, I'm going to kill all the men tomorrow and then post.
LOL. I know. I'm scared I'm going to get arrested. It's like really, I ask my friends all the time, like, am I going to get arrested? But I try and be careful now because I got banned from Facebook for 3 days
for saying kill all men.
No, because well, I had this photo up that was for. I always try and make it clear that it's a joke.
Right.
You know, like
Do you?
I do.
To me, it's so what you do that it is a joke or
exactly.
or
People who don't know me are like,
or you
know,
need
whatever.
to be arrested, like, or you really
No.
Like they think
if you're not joking,
right.
No.
If you're this dangerous,
yeah.
Right. That's
you
what
got
they
banned
think.
from Facebook.
Well, so I had this.
Ooh.
I know I'm a bad girl. I had this like photo up that was like a childhood photo of me with a thought bubble that says "kill all men." I had it up for 1.5 years, and then someone reported it and they removed it. So then I reposted it, and then they banned me for 3 days.
But technically, if you say quote "kill all" or "kill this," person
Yeah, they
or
just
kill,
instantly it's like a
That's-
flag or whatever.
as Facebook, I can understand that. Can you
Yeah,
understand
no,
that?
I mean I can get. That's the thing. It's hard because it's like I want to be able to like joke how I want, but like it is kind of getting a little tenuous because it's like, you know, there was a guy in Brooklyn who was arrested for making a joke about not even killing Donald Trump, about Donald Trump like dying on the Beltway, and he got like stopped, like he got like interrogated for like 4 hours. It was like right after he was elected. So it is like kind of scary because I'm like, it does like suck. I want to be able to joke how I want and people know that I'm kidding, but it's like people go all over my Free the Mind videos, which I'm in a feminist band called Free the Mind, and they will write like race traitor and like, you know, you're
wow.
sexist and like all this stuff. And it's funny to me because I'm like, they think women are the ones without a sense of humor. I'm like, you know, it'd be funny. Like, it wouldn't be funny if
Here's
there
the
was
thing,
even a chance women were going to go out and murder a bunch of men, but like we never do, even though we should.
Here's a little of your band.
Women are perfect. No woman has any flaws. Men should all be afraid because they're about to fall.
Were you classically trained?
Uh,
Women are perfect.
I took voice lessons for like a year, but that was it. But I like to sing. But I've gotten better, I think, because
You'll hold out a note. You don't give a shit.
no, I won't. I'll hold down no as long as I fucking please. But that's our song where we define feminism as murdering men.
This song is all older white men will what is it? Will die except for my dad.
But not my dad. Yeah.
All older white men should die, but not my dad. No, no, not my dad.
It's
It's
cute.
on Sister Act, right?
Yeah, it's catchy. People will tell me, they'll be like, "Oh, I caught myself singing it out loud the other day." It's like
Are
very
you
dark.
kidding? Anytime I listen to your music for days, I wake up going, "Women are perfect."
That's so flattering. That's all I've ever hoped for. Is just because it's supposed to be an empowering message for women that we never die and that we men should not exist because they're just jealous of us being alive.
The hashtag kill all men I'm reading. It's the hashtag to inspire a generation, and it was all part of a fake revolution in which women would take over the planet.
Yeah.
Having caught on quickly with other female comics, hashtag kill men immediately sparked outrage from, you guessed it, white men who felt left out of the joke.
Is it white men?
I mean,
Or isn't it men?
It has been mostly white men, but it
Okay.
is technically men. I mean, I think they don't think it's funny because they already feel like women get special privileges because we all just want to be victims and blah, 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 blah.
Well, because we could use our feminine wilds on people like authority, like cops. Like,
Yeah.
we can get out of tickets. We can get hired in certain
and
places.
it's like,
that they
I can't. Like, if a cop sees me, I'm like, hey, sorry. And they're like, we don't like it.
Here's the thing: even when you are, it doesn't matter. It's like if they don't find us attractive, that means we don't get the thing. So it's a big fucking free for all out
and
there. It's not
even with the women who are beautiful and use that, and there's always this trope of the femme fatale that's like so overused. It's like, okay, well, even if women have found that as a source of power, it's because that's what was left for us. Like, especially back in the day, it's like beautiful women have been taught in some ways, like, this is your best chance of getting power. Use it.
Yeah, when you say women, all these women, they like to play the victim. Why do we allow them to be able to?
Yeah,
That's
it's
one
like,
of Ray's jokes. Ray Sani.
Yeah.
She's
Oh,
so
yeah.
funny. She talks about
Well,
like,
I'm woke too.
well, she talks about how, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it's so good, and even when you watch it, it's gonna be so beyond what I'm gonna say. But she watches some shitty reality show, and it's like somebody got on her for it, like, oh, all those women are using their blah blah blah, exactly what we were talking about, and she goes, oh, well, I didn't do that. That's not me. I'm not paying for their stupid drinks because they're stupid pretty. Like, she's like, no, that's you. You did that.
Yeah.
And now you're getting on me for just watching this show?
well, that's the lose-lose with men. I mean, it's like they do this whole Madonna whore thing where it's like if you're Kim Kardashian, they hate you. But if you're a prude, they hate you too. So it's like, they don't want a woman to be able to make her own money. I read the best tweet about it, which I think I read on Miss Andrea with Marsha once. But it was this guy who tweeted, maybe sex work and things like that are so stigmatized because men want women to give their sexual powers away for free. And they get mad whenever they try and do anything more with it that actually benefits them as opposed to just men.
Right. Marcia says, if you don't like matriarchy as a joke, imagine how actual patriarchy might feel to a woman. I use clear sarcasm to make myself and other women and men laugh about the frustrations we feel, the everyday events that make us feel low, the people who make us feel powerless. I saw a tweet from Marcia. It said, but there will be problems with matriarchy too. And she says, A, no, there won't be. B, let's just try it.
Like, can we just try? Like, people are like, well, even if white men weren't in power, there'd still be corruption. I'm like, totally. Let's just try.
Right.
Let's just see.
You had your chance. John Smith writes, women are not perfect by a long shot. If there was anyone who could come close to perfection, it would be a man.
Did he just say that? Like, just now?
No, I mean, this is on your YouTube.
Oh, no. Some of the trolls that I got on my YouTube were so funny. There was this one guy. Anytime someone posts something about us, me as a feminist, my band, my blog, anything, immediately these people will find me everywhere and descend. So automatically that's a win for me because I'm like, you are taking the time. It made you so mad that you now have to consume everything I've ever done. Then that gives me real power. So it's like, fine. And this guy, I have this song Male Gaze where it says the only way to escape the male gaze is to gouge their eyes. And then this guy was like, no man wants to be looking at you anyways. And I'm just like, well, they can't. I took their eyes.
You're not following the logic of this. When you
And
say,
also, if not, then sounds like you don't have to worry about
Yeah,
it.
well, I was like, if I'm so ugly, why are you taking your time out of your day? Like, it's just so pathetic. And I'm like, and then me and my friends always joke where I'm like, one of the guys said, I forget what he said, but it was like, women aren't perfect, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that his wife is like, will you please answer the phone? I need you to sign these divorce papers.
Right.
Like, he said,
I don't have time.
Oh, this is what he said. He said, women will always need men more than men need women, which I have found in my personal life for the opposite to be true, honestly. Like, like women need men and men need women, but also I think that women would do a lot better long term. Like, I think we all take care of men a lot more than men take care of us in a lot of ways.
this is the comment you're talking about. No, women are not perfect. They are humans, just like men. Don't forget, without men, women would not last very long.
Yes, so that's the one that we were like, his wife is like, it's been 5 years. Can you please just sign the divorce papers, Gary? I need to move on. Like,
women need men more than men need women.
well, and they always have. Every single person I've ever been trolled by, because trust me, I look. It's like a non-human avatar. There's no information about them. So I'm like, if you were really confident that these were okay things to say, you would put your full name. I would be able to know who you are.
The picture wouldn't be a Labrador.
Exactly.
That's literally what I'm looking at.
Exactly.
You wrote to him, John, I have eaten human flesh. So you don't let it go. That's good. John writes, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Hell, I would bet that you're one of those crazy enough to drink their own menstrual blood.
Oh, they're one. What? That's
Well,
a
and it's
thing?
funny-
Why does he know that's a thing?
Well, this is the same thing with the grab them by the pussy thing. Like, they always want to go, you're crass. You say pussy. Like, they're like, these women with their pussy hats are so crass. And it's like, you're the one who brought up menstrual blood. Like, you're calling me gross, but like, you're the one talking about drinking menstrual blood. Like,
the
fuck
pussy
you.
hats were in response to pussy something else.
Exactly.
It always starts at what you did instead of like the
Exactly.
reaction to something.
Exactly. They're like, let's not be crass. It's like, well, the president said it, so.
Regarding all older white men must die except for your dad, no. Cunts like you fuck off and die.
I know, yeah. It's
Only
like
cunts
so
like you.
sweet. Yeah. Cunts like you fuck off and die. It's like, no, actually, it's just going to be every white man and not my dad. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
congrats that you give a shit about your dad that much. That's
Thank
a lot.
you. Yeah, I
That's-
love him. And I loved
My dad's gonna die in this revolution.
Yeah,
that's
a lot
not
of dads are going to die.
because you gave us like half a dude to save. He's not gonna be a cool.
No, yeah.
That's the thing
And
with
even
that-
if you save a dude, the board could just thumbs down and they're gone. Sorry.
Maybe my new dad.
A lot of people have rapist brothers. So no, just kidding. My brother's a great guy. I'm just kidding.
I smell a song.
My brother's a great guy.
A
I
lot
got-
of people's brothers are rapists.
Not
that
mine.
would really not be popular.
He was always there for me.
Yeah.
You may not know it because you don't wanna.
Yeah. Open your eyes.
And of course, I've mentioned before how much I like your Headless Women of Hollywood, and how
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure I didn't realize it as much either. I would notice it maybe. This is an unapologetic comedy you're watching, but it's so many movies. I mean, you
You just think like, oh, that's what posters look like.
right. Maybe it's I
That's the
don't
thing.
know.
You get used to it. It's just tits, just legs. Like it's like the woman's head. It's like you don't even notice when someone's head isn't there. But,
But
they're
then they ask us not to be crass.
I know. They're like, "Go, give me a head or take my head and then I won't. But there's more headless men now, which is kind of cute and funny. Like I've seen someone sent me a poster for The Good Fight. And I'm not saying I'm like for male objectification, but like I am and we should do it because that's only fair. Like it's like, women have to be given absolute power. Like people say feminism's about equality. Not for me.
Right.
Not for me.
Headless Women seeks to bring attention to the still standard practice of fragmenting, fetishizing, and dehumanizing the images of women we see in film, TV, book covers, advertising, and more. By decapitating the woman or fragmenting her body into decontextualized sexual parts, she becomes an unquestionably passive object to the male gaze. The question of her consent is removed completely alongside her head, and her purpose becomes solely that of being looked at by men obediently. Her value is that only of her sexual appeal to men and not of her personhood. And I would look at one, for example, Dreamgirls. Now, I didn't see the movie. I would imagine that's empowering, I would think, of some kind. You're just seeing the back of these women, and you bring up a great point. Like, wait a minute. Look at these obviously airbrushed hourglass women. Which one's Jennifer Hudson
Yeah,
again?
which one's the curvy one? Well, that's the same thing. And, there are posters with men facing the back. And what I try and do is make sure it's explicitly sexualized because that's where it's really bothersome is where you're not a full human. And this is the way that female sexuality has been literally broken into parts where, men will like not have sex with the whole woman. Like, it's because of porn and I think all these different things. It's like you can just have tits and someone's like, yeah, that's sex, cool.
And they
it's
also like even if you are supposedly having sex with the whole woman, just so you know, that thought process of women are just tits, that's what makes you go for our tits badly.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
For
like,
sure. Just like honk honk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, instead of like going up our shirt, you go tit. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Well,
just
and-
so you know, that's not how you do it. In fact, try not touching our tits for like 10 minutes and then touching our tits. We're coming.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, go underneath, go
Yeah.
in between.
Well,
Go-
and it reinforces that a woman's sexual pleasure is never the question. And if it is in play, it's always secondary to the man's pleasure. So it's like, also what bothers me too is just women's bodies, especially headless bodies, as background in like pop culture. It's just so common now where it's like a woman's sexual body, dozens of women's sexual bodies are background, and they're only focused on when it's for the purposes of the man, which sends the message like, women are always here for you sexually if you want them, but as soon as you don't want them, don't worry, they'll go away. Which is just how it used to be with housewives too, where it's like a woman is here to bring you food and all this stuff,
And
but as
literally
soon
your
as
slippers.
yeah, like as soon as you don't want her though, she'll go away and stop talking. Otherwise she's a bad woman. So it's like, we still do it. It's just updated with sexualization because they took the women's sexual lib movement from them and made it exploitative for man's purposes. But that's like a whole long, you gotta read a bunch of books.
And it goes a little something like this.
And it goes, women's sexual lib was taken from them in 1975.
That's not what we meant when we burned our bras.
Yeah, seriously.
We could still wear them if we want.
You try and explain to people, they don't get it.
Right. By the way, what I used to do, shame on me, I would grab the tit and bring it towards me.
Oh, God.
Making it
Like a
violently.
door handle?
It's a power play.
Ugh.
But I'm married now, and I know a woman's
Yeah, you need to
importance.
learn.
Yeah. And then I remembered, I have a sister too, So you, try
And then you remember,
you start respecting
oh,
them.
wait, right, my sister, women are people. I love that where they go, think of your daughters, your sisters, and there's some lady who's sitting there with no family, and she's like, I guess I'm not a person. I don't have any brothers.
Headless Women of Hollywood is up for a Shorty Award. You'll be on that red carpet.
I hope so. I think that like they narrow it down even further, so I'm nominated, but I don't know if being a nominee automatically gets me to the award. But you can vote up to once a day at shortyawards.com/9/headless-women-of-Hollywood.
Right off the tongue.
Yeah, I haven't memorized because I've copied it so many times. But
you have your own website, right?
yeah,
MarshaBelsky.com.
MarshaBelsky.com.
Do you know how to do redirects?
Oh, so that when someone clicks there, it immediately goes to the Shorty Awards?
MarshaBelsky.com/shorty. Let's talk about that after the show.
Yeah, I have it on my homepage now when you like click on my website.
That's probably best. MarshaBelsky.com.
Go there.
It's on her.
It's on my website.
It's on your homepage.
Yes, it says click here to vote,
There
and
you
you
go.
click on it, it takes you there. And you can vote up to once a day, and then each time you vote, if you share it on Facebook, it gives you an extra vote, and if you share it on Twitter, it gives you an extra vote as well. So you can technically give me up to 3 votes every time you vote, but no pressure.
Would it be fun if then they show the nominations, but yours is only from the neck down? The pictures.
That's happened before. Well, yeah, it's funny because the one that they chose was great because the one that they chose was A League of Their Own, which was one of the most upsetting ones I found because it's just a leg and she's not even in like athletic gear. And it's like the whole movie is about how these girls were put in skirts and they didn't even want to play in skirts, but they had to compromise all this stuff. And it's like, also, you had Madonna's leg. If you were going to at least get a leg of one of the actresses,
Well, Madonna's leg fits nice because I'm looking at the poster right now, and there's no kneecaps.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. We're
So
not allowed to
creepy.
have kneecaps in
No.
pictures. Or elbows.
Or elbows or pores.
that's what I'm into most about my wife. She doesn't have,
She doesn't have any pores.
joints.
Right. We're just loosey-goosey rubber bodies.
She's like that air-filled guy who's trying to get you to come to the car show.
And someone's just below them screaming like, you look so thin. They're like, thank you.
Well, of course, flavor of the month, out with the old, in with the new. We have a new one, Carrie Condit.
Terry Condit.
She's going to be...
Oh, she's so smart. I've never met her, but Ray is super good friends with her.
So
or
that's-
they're like friendly.
I felt the same way about her, and I actually at some point messaged her. I'm like, you don't know me, but I think you're so cool, and please come to my party because I feel like we should meet. And luckily, she was on board with the same thing. I
Nice.
was like, we need to meet. I would like you to be my friend. And so this is the same way I felt about you being in here. I recorded her first Flavor of the Month, which was her first time hosting a podcast. She is so smart and
Yeah.
so funny and so aware. Like, she will not let anything pass. Like, if you reiterate what she's saying and that's like half a degree off, and I'm like, no, that's not what she meant, she will be like, no, easily, this is what I meant. So her first guest was Aldo Alzo Slade.
Yeah.
Who another person, super duper smart. And I thought, wow, I wouldn't match those two up for the first episode. And I feel like she did that on purpose because it was a little bit more of a challenge. They disagreed very much, but they're like listening to their disagreement. And I was in the room and I was like, oh my God, this is history. This is amazing. Because every time I wanted to be like, no, fuck it. And then I was like, oh, listen to the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Staying calm has its merits. I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely a thing that I'm learning. And that's why it's hard when there are
Gloria
people.
Steinem said that.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
she stayed calm while these men threw their mommy issues at her like nothing I've ever seen. Like, I've watched old interviews with her, and like this old guy in glasses just screaming at her, like, my mother had power over me. Like, she was just like, okay. Like, you know, they're totally melting down. But I have learned a lot to be calm. But that's why it's hard when people are purposely inciting you and then they want to say you're the one who doesn't want to have a reasonable debate. And it's like, no. I went on a podcast, The Beige Phillip Show. I disagree with a lot of things that they think. I was hesitant to go on. And then when you're actually...
Sorry, but you do want to be a better bitch, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh my God, you should have seen me when I was in the studio and the intro came on. I was like... But they listened
he gave
to
a
me.
T-shirt, a Be a Better Bitch T-shirt to Henda, and I'm like, you think she's going
Oh
to wear
my
that?
God. Like, that's the thing. But like, he is a very nice man. And he explained to me, like, he comes at it from an interesting point of view. And listening to him taught me a lot. Him listening to me, he really respected me. He was really nice.
That's a really interesting show to go on as a woman. And
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure I'm clear about it to them as well. You're usually the only female in the room, and they will take your perspective as every female perspective. So it's a lot of
too
pressure.
much.
Then I also find that, like, if my female perspective is different than the female perspective that they know, then they sort of consider me a unicorn, and I have to say, hey, consider that I'm not a unicorn, just
Exactly. I said that to them a lot of
Yeah.
times where they kept, I'm like, you're not giving me compliments like I'm a cool feminist. Like,
Right.
it's like, you know, a lot of people will say that to me. They're like, oh my God, you're a feminist, but I like don't hate you, which is literally just coded version of going, you're not a cunt. Like, that's all they're saying. It's like, oh my God, everyone who calls themselves a feminist, I think is a cunt, but you're not a cunt.
Right.
And you're like, thank you so much. Like,
Yeah.
it's like when someone's like, I never find women funny, but I love you.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like,
But I still
great.
find going on that show is really good because they will stop and listen. And, you know, I do have to be on alert because I'm also not in home territory. You know, I can I can go, Keith, no. Like, you know what I mean? And, and I can't cut them off as often, and I don't have as much speak time as you know, you can on your own show, but it's great.
It feels
It's
good
really
to
great.
hold your own with people who are different. That's the thing. Like, you know, I don't think that we should be running away from these differences, but also
And they let me shit on them.
exactly, like, you know,
It's a must.
and and you know, he comes from an interesting point of view. He used to be a male stripper, so when he's saying to me, I see objectification differently, I can say, well, from your point of view, I can see that, you know, and explain to. That's why I like doing this joke now. With everything that I do, I say that I speak for all women. That's what my disclaimer is. Like, I wrote this thing like, am I willing to die with a militia of women in the woods for Inauguration Day? Because they asked me to for Brightest Young Things. And the first thing I said was like, disclaimer, my opinions are that of all women, you know, because that's what they're going to think. So it's like, you might as well joke about that, you know, because people want to say stuff, especially with my band, you know, it's like, there have been people who say that I'm making fun of feminism. There are people who think that I am not actually a feminist, that my whole shtick is about undermining feminism. And I'm like, and it's only men who say that to me.
You know what's funny is it's so on your recording, you're like, women are perfect. All the whole thing. And then at the end, listen carefully, you guys. You hear Marsha before they turned off her mic, she goes, hee.
That's the thing. Like, I just created this world to be sane, and I'm so glad that I did with this election, because it's my only happy place now is this like psychotic world I've created in my mind where, like, you know, men are like hiding in bunkers while the women patrol the streets. But
It is funny when you say, like, and I tried to think of something dark about this cabinet, you know, how no one is dark on this cabinet.
I mean, like, I just try and think of something that makes me laugh. Like, you know, they'll actually bring me some joy with how dark it all is.
Right.
But
Well, here's a little of Carrie and Alzo, and it's a little cute, not too deep.
Kids don't read enough. I mean, you got all these
Plus his voice.
like video games, cell phones, all of that as babysitters.
Yep.
And I don't even, like, when I grew up, we had a set of Britannica encyclopedias.
Me too.
You know what I'm
I had
saying?
the whole thing, the brown one.
Yeah, I had the navy blue ones. I think that was more modern than the ones you had.
How could they be? You're clearly older than me, sir. You had the original. He had the OG encyclopedia. You had the Dead Sea Scrolls.
You said Brown. You said Brown.
You had
Your
oral
shit-
historians dictating it to you. Socrates
Your shit was
came
written
to your
on
house.
parchment. Your shit was written on
Yours
parchment.
was on papyrus.
Yo, Jesus gave you communion.
Old ass. Moses told you himself. That's how you know it was written.
So of course you can
Oh
see
my
this.
God!
That's
come
so funny.
on. Oh.
That's so funny.
KeithandGirl.com/VIP, of course, all our spin-off shows and every show we've ever recorded. And this is called Call You In, where you would call in. I did, for example.
Yes, you did.
And call somebody into the principal's office.
You
so to
called
speak.
my brother Michael in.
That's
You
right.
got him in so much trouble. After the show, they were like, "Is Michael really like that?" And I'm like, "Fuck."
Carrie and guest Alzo Slade call in parents excited about snow day school cancellations, dear white people, objectors, and people who text message to
Oh,
me.
yeah. Did you hear about that? It's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I love that they're doing this whole liberal tears thing because even that
Well,
was
just so you know-
appropriated from people who said male tears and white tears. Like where it was like they're selling this whole white male tears like joke.
Oh, I
And
didn't
then
know
now the Republicans have taken these liberal tears mugs and things like that. Whatever.
Well, Dear White People was a movie that came out in 2013, and now it's coming out as a series on Netflix, and people are protesting it in whatever way. So they're unsubscribing to Netflix.
I think it's so funny because
and I say goodbye.
they go. People say these racist, fragile white
This
people.
one show is gonna. I'm sorry. This one show is gonna bother you. Family Guy is on there. Murder Everything is on Netflix.
No, but it's
all
because
the
it's about them.
sexuality is on there. Everything fucked up. Are you objecting to 13th as well? Like, what is okay?
People want to
What were you
cancel the
gonna say?
Grammys because they don't want they're scared of political messages. Gaga had to sign a thing that she wouldn't do an overtly political message. So
Even
people,
though she sang a bunch of America, the
well, she
Great
did.
songs.
I mean, that's the thing. But something directly, she wasn't gonna bash in effigy Trump or whatever. But what's interesting is that these sort of particular white people, they say black people want special privileges in terms of the fights that they're having. And that's sort of been their argument for long. They say that just in wanting equality, black people are somehow asking for special privileges. And the whole thing is, no, they're not, obviously. But even if they were, would that be so crazy after hundreds and hundreds of years of mistreatment? Would it be, you're so fucking lucky that black people as a community aren't asking for special treatment.
But it's very important that you know that they're not asking for special
I
treatment.
know.
That's why it's so fucked up. So forget if they're asking for special treatment. You can't ask for special treatment when you have no treatment to begin with.
Exactly. And they want to claim reverse racism, but it's you can't explain to these people that the biggest struggle they'll have to face is having to think about their own racism. They'll never have to experience the danger of racism being turned against you, on a daily basis.
That's
So-
because they don't believe it's true. Because
They
you
don't believe
can't.
it's true.
And and then I think, there's a lot perpetuating that.
And it's what a great
That thought.
hive mind we would have to be to just perpetuate these untruths.
Right.
I don't know. It's really sad. But then you just think those people are going to scream until the lobster dies in the boil. I mean, that's just the thing. They're going to scream until eventually, hopefully, as a society, we've made more progress. But it never goes away,
Alzo's right. Start reading. People don't read
People
enough.
don't read enough. That's what's really scary. I mean, Trump can say any sort of non-fact, and we have no basis of history. People don't know. People don't know shit.
I was saying this the other day. One of my brothers, I was talking to him on the phone. He said, the Muslim ban, Trump's only sending back people that are criminals. And this is I'm saying, then I don't even bother. I'm like, oh, okay. Never mind. Let's just think of the logistics. But
And you want to show, they say, prove it. And then you
Right.
prove it. You go, here is the facts of these people who were sent back, who are legal residents, who have visas, who are students, who are engineers, who are journalists. I mean, all sorts of people.
Who went through the system. That's very important. 'cause
Who are
people feel like
interpreters.
the you can, quote, come into this country.
Which is insane.
That's
America
that's
has
a main problem.
I knew a 16-year-old girl from Chile, which is a developed, basically Americanized country at this point after their dictatorship fell in the 90s, whatever. But she was
Whatever.
a 17-year-old girl, whatever, blah, blah. She came here as a student. And she said, you know, she's from Chile, but to the immigration people, they go, all Hispanics want to be in the country. She's an upper middle class girl from Santiago, Chile. She's like, I would never want to live in America. Like, she's like, I don't give a shit. But they hold you as if you're trying to sneak in already. So to have executive orders that say just send them back, I mean, people die. There's an old woman who died. Like, you know, it's like, it's sick. And also what's crazy is
By the way, think of when you got off a plane, especially like if you don't live there and they just go back. Like, think of all the different
so
scenarios
scary.
and then add extra scenarios that like have to do with legitimately being killed.
Yeah, they intimidate you into signing things. I mean, like, it's really scary stuff. And what's especially messed up is, like, there already is extreme vetting. Trump does not know how to extreme vet. And, you know, it's
He
all
doesn't
been...
know that we have vetting.
Exactly.
I
He
don't
doesn't
think he
know
knows.
anything. But he also...
I think he thinks they're just coming
said
in.
during his whole campaign, he said, I'm going to ban Muslims till we figure it out. I'm going to ban Muslims till we figure out what's going on. And then once he actually did it, but he knows that a Muslim ban is illegal. So then once he actually did it, all of a sudden it's, how dare you call it a Muslim ban? That's not what it is. And it's like the courts ended up using his own words against him. And that's what really caused his failures. They said, we have clear intent for you. You said publicly many times you intended to issue a Muslim ban.
Well, we should all be glad that the courts decided to do some kind of work and go with the truth, because
Yeah.
you would think that you could just take A and B and go, here you go. But
Yeah.
that's not what's happening, which
No.
is how we have that fucking educator DeVos fucking
Oh, I know.
bitch.
But I think people, I just have to have hope that
Ooh, I
in the
just
long
use
run.
bitch. I usually use bitch for men. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, I'm trying to use cunt for men because, like, British people call men cunts, and I love it. They'll be like, Donald Trump is such a cunt. And you're like, oh, yes. Yes. But, like, that's why I don't like the word cunt, because in America, we only use it for women. And I only ever hear it from, like, my female friends when it's, like, this really strong, like, and I just want to be like, it just feels like you're more angry at her than you are at, like, this dude who we know is a rapist. Like, you know, so whatever.
Right.
I hate the word cunt in an American accent.
Steve is saying, Keith, you're reading? What are you reading? I just finished John Wick 2, the book.
Really?
Yeah. And then, while slowly exhaling, he turned to his left and they all died too. It was a very good book. Very good book.
Everyone's been talking about this. I thought it was a movie or something. I didn't even know.
The book's based on the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then 20 more people died. The end.
Is that how it goes? Just everyone dies?
Yeah, because there's a lot of murder, but you can't really explain it in a book.
Right. For sure.
Number one movie of the weekend, the Lego Batman movie.
I heard it was terrible.
It's not terrible, but the second half isn't as funny as the first half.
Oh, it's like supposed to be funny.
Absolutely.
Well, I have
The Lego Batman movie.
Right.
It might want to be
I
funny.
thought it was going to be dark like The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan directs Lego Batman movie.
Even imagine if they wanted it to be serious and everyone just goes and laughs.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's so cute.
You confused it with Lincoln Log Spider-Man.
That was a dark movie.
Number two, 50 Shades Darker.
Oh, right. Because you can change a man who beats you. That's the message of that movie.
Wait, there's a second.
The second movie is that this man
The
who...
first one was having trouble.
Yeah, the first one didn't do good, but...
I thought it did do well.
Well, I guess money's important, right? I meant like a low...
Critically.
A low critic score. for
That's never stopped them.
But it
Right.
also, I didn't. The reason why I didn't know it did well money wise is because while they were producing it and filming it, people dropped out, and that's never a good sign. Like
Right.
they dropped
Right.
out, they didn't want to be associated with it. Like they had trouble like from the beginning.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
The
surprised.
main actress is someone very famous's daughter. I can't remember.
That is true.
That sounds
Who
famous.
is it? Yeah. Everyone look it up. Trust. Believe.
It sounds like she's really going to sell tickets.
Yeah. 50 Shades Darker. It's coming out on Valentine's Day, so I keep going to my
Oh,
boyfriend. I'm
no.
like, that's what we're doing.
Are you doing something
Get
on
ready.
Valentine's Day?
I think we're probably just gonna have like dinner somewhere and do something nice. We had on my on our anniversary. No, on my birthday, he took me to see Oh Hello on Broadway, which was really cool.
That's nice.
And it was they have a special guest. Well, it's over now, but it was the John Mulaney, Nick Kroll show. And they had special guests every night, and our special guest was Stephen Colbert. So that was like really
Ooh.
cool.
Do people get on you for having a boyfriend, for doing date-like things, for doing what, you
A
know?
little bit, but the thing is why my relationship works is because I knew that I could never ever again be in a type of relationship where I
can't
just
kill him.
disappear.
Right.
Right, where I can't kill him. Right.
Like he knows I will gouge out his eyes.
And he knows, and that's the thing, and he gets it. Like he's like, that's fine, you do you, babe. But like we like have a really functional relationship because neither of us can afford to be in one of those like relationships where we just completely disappear from the world or like only hang out with each other or spend every night together, things like that. Like that wasn't the type of relationship either of us wanted. So
How often do you see each other
We see
outside
it,
of
like,
comedy?
outside, I mean, yeah, like probably like every other day. I mean,
That's a
you
lot.
know, yeah, we see each other a lot, but we don't always necessarily like, you know, we give each other a lot of really necessary space. So I think people give me shit, but then they realize that my red flags for my girlfriends are when they act really differently around the guy that they're dating, like they're held back in any way, or they try and change their opinions to make the guy more comfortable. I think is what happens to a lot of women. And so I think girls were worried that if I got, you know, dated a man, then
You'd
all of a
stop
sudden
killing men.
I'd be like, maybe some of them are good. I'm like, no, like, because that's not part of the joke. Like, and that's how people know, like, it's like people will build up on both sides this like reputation. It's like there are girls that don't think that it's a joke. There are guys that don't think it's a joke. And then they meet me and I'm like, I mean, it's a bit. Do I have to spell it out for you? Like, you know, like it's not a bit because it comes from a real place of anger. But like, no, I'm not actually going around like slicing dudes' throats.
But
and if I
that's-
were doing it, I would say that I wasn't because I could be arrested.
But that's how men feel, or how people feel when we say like, hey, you can't do that rape joke, when guys are like, I will rape you or you should rape her. And I feel like that they've got to be comparing it to that, right?
Well, I think they try to, but the thing is that like when a guy does a rape joke, most of the times it's just that it's not funny because it's like rape when you're coming at it against the victim is not funny. So then they're really mad that it doesn't get a laugh. Or if you do a funny rape joke, then fine, people are offended by it. Fine, people are offended by my joke. And then you go, well, I can't change your mind. Like, you know, I'm like, I think what makes them mad is people laughing about it. So it's like I sometimes when I see a rape joke that I find really disgusting, I'm not mad that the comedian's telling it. I mean, I am. I'll judge him. I'm not going to say he can't tell it. I'm going to say he's an asshole for telling it. And it makes me more upset when the audiences just go along with some of this like really crazy shit and think it's funny. But I'm like, I can't, you know, say you can't laugh, you can't tell the joke. All I can say is you're an asshole. So it's like, if you think I'm an asshole, fine, let's talk about it. You can tell everybody I'm an asshole. That's fine. You know, you're allowed to. But it's the whenever you say, hey, you're an asshole for telling that rape joke, they're like, you're not allowed to call me an asshole. It's free speech. And it's like, no, that is free speech. You're an asshole. Like, you know.
Right.
So
By the way, just so there's no loose ends, Dakota Johnson is in 50 Shades of Grey. She's the daughter of Melanie Griffith
yes,
and Don
thank
Johnson.
you. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Don Johnson. My God.
9%.
I forgot that was a real person. I was like, wow.
The second one, 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. And like, you know,
Wow.
9%.
how many times can you take your underwear out at a restaurant
Oh my
under the
God.
table where you're still excited?
9% though is
Yeah.
like Geely levels. What was that movie? Is that
it's
Geely? Will you look up what Geely has on
sure.
Rotten
Good
Tomatoes?
idea. I was floored by how bad that movie was because I was like, you know, these guys, like, they were at the prime of their, what's their
know.
faces?
Bennifer?
J-Lo? Yeah, Bennifer. At the
The
prime
original Bennifer.
of everything that they were in life.
I know.
All of it, personal, career, whatever. And it's like, all right, Geely looks like a
Terrible.
decent premise. Every scene was horrible.
I know. And not even like bad enough to be funny.
Right,
Like
right.
just like so bad. What is it?
Like,
And
where
they-
are you going with this kind of what?
And you had two famous actors, I believe. One was Al Pacino even. And during those scenes,
Oh,
you're like, this
God.
is ridiculous. 6%.
That
Wow,
makes
even
sense.
worse. Yeah, well, it's can you like it just seems like such a different, more innocent world when Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck were still dating. I think we would all just die to go back.
If we didn't,
Except for her.
That's the shift in the universe that allowed Donald Trump to happen. I'm gonna go with that, where everyone goes, and that's what made Trump win. On like everything, anytime you're like demanding equality for anyone, they're like, and that's why Trump won. So I'm just gonna be like, yeah, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez breaking up. Yeah, that's why Trump won.
Bennifer is why Trump won.
Bennifer won is why Trump won. Thanks.
MarshaBelsky.com, that's the website. That's where you see everything. That's where you hear this music.
Yes.
That's
You
where
vote.
that's where you
You
vote
vote?
for the Shorty Award.
My shows, my upcoming shows are listed there. I try and update it pretty regularly.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. If you don't
welcome.
vote right now, it's like over in a couple days. So make sure that you vote.
I was like, please, I've never been to a red carpet.
It
Now
end-
say it like a girl. Please.
Please, I've never been to a red carpet.
All she wants is to wear her pretty dress on the red carpet.
All I want is to wear a pantsuit.
the Twitter account is at Marsha Belsky.
MARCIA.
And that's that. Congrats again, by the way, on your
Thank you,
CACA
guys.
award. People love you.
Thank you for having me. I always love coming. I love you both very much.
Come back for the marathon.
I will.
All of you. KeithandTheGirl.com/marathon. Love you.